Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO44 coming at you with another video. All right, so what is on my mind right now? Well, I'm talking about the Phoenix Suns and the Denver Nuggets because they're going to be playing in the second round of the first, the Western Conference, rather. What am I talking about? The Western Conference semifinals is going to be between those two teams, and the series is going to be starting in Denver. And I think these two teams match up pretty well with one another, to be honest with you guys. I really do. I was looking at the rosters and to be honest with you, neither one of these teams are really strong after they get past those front 7 or 8 guys. So it's going to be about whose front 8 can beat whose front 8 in this series. I don't think the bench is going to really tell the story too much. Health will definitely tell the story. If there's any real injuries to any of those key guys, I think it probably leans into the other team winning. That kind of thing. Can't afford a KD go down. Can't afford for Jokic to go down. None of that. You need everybody out there. But what I think is going to be really interesting in this story here, um, first of all, altitude is going to play a part in what's going on, given the fact that it is in Denver. So you got a couple older guys, KD in this situation. I'm wondering if he'll be affected in any way by that. Probably not. But just all in all, when you consider going back and forth with them having home court advantage, a game 7 in altitude, that could be a thing. But all in all, this is a series where I want to know how Aiton is going to do against Jokic defensively. If he's going to disrupt him, because that's really where things get rather tricky for the Denver Nuggets. If someone on the other team can effectively guard him or make things difficult for him so that some of the plays that he makes and some of the things that he does isn't as comfortable for him to make. You got to make life hard on him. And they'll figure out how to do that as the series progresses if you're Phoenix. I think Bismack Biyombo, Josh Okogie, those guys are going to be very important in this series. Defense is going to be important. And stopping Jokic and trying to slow down the overall machine that he makes go. Um, you know, uh, Devin Booker's coming off one of the greatest performances. I mean, he was so very efficient, going for 40 plus in very limited shots. Just phenomenal shooting in the third quarter, I believe it was, where they went off and had a 50-point quarter to close out the Clippers. Just craziness. I didn't see the highlights. I just saw the stats. That was good enough for me. Clearly, Devin Booker's playing some crazy, crazy, crazy great basketball right now, and he's going to be very, very tough to stop. Um, the Denver Nuggets do have some defensive guys, though, that I think they're going to throw at him that will make things a little difficult. Bruce Brown and KCP come to mind immediately. They're players that you could just, obviously with KCP, MVP, not MVP, but NBA championship experience, he's already proven to be able to get stops in situations where it matters most, particularly against his own team, the Denver Nuggets. But nevertheless, it's one of those situations where now that he's with this team, you expect for him to do a lot of hounding, particularly of Devin Booker. Who is guarding KD? Well, I think that would probably be a team job situation, but the name that comes to mind is Aaron Gordon. You definitely want Aaron Gordon to have some minutes on KD. He'll probably get that assignment a lot of the time. Josh Kobe, he's on his team. I'm trying to get these two teams in my mind, but nevertheless, I do believe that'll be an Aaron Gordon type of thing. Now, the question I have is who is stopping Jamal Murray on the Phoenix side of things? I don't know that they have that defender. Where's that person coming from? That's the question. How are they going to slow down somebody who's starting to find his confidence and who's built to kill in the playoffs? Um, I also wonder what Chris Paul's giving me. Is Chris Paul's jump shot going well? It was kind of here and there against the Clippers. You know, Denver ain't the Clippers, put it like that. Clippers were missing their two best players. Denver ain't missing nobody as of right now. Jokic is coming off a triple-double, high numbers as always. He looks like himself. And like I said, these guys, Murray, Porter, they're getting healthier. Porter is hitting every shot. So I think if Porter continues to shoot the way that he was shooting in the last series and this one, he's going to offset some of the efficiency of KD and Booker just by playing very well by himself. If he can give him 30 points a night on efficient shooting, that's going to be something that ultimately negates what makes the Phoenix special, which is why I think this is a very interesting series. Because both of these benches aren't really all that great, and because they're both very efficient shooters on both sides, I almost think that Booker and KD almost get canceled out. And if that's the case, you look over and you still see more players coming at you from Denver. So it's like when you couple that with Denver being together, not only all year long, but pretty much for the last 3 years, they've had this team together. with the exception of Gordon, who came in last year, but he's still been with this team for a good long time and has been in this role rather consistently. I just look at the Phoenix Suns, and they just slapped everything together over the last 3 months. So even though their bench has continuity, obviously Booker's been there the entire time. Ayton and Booker have continuity with one another, and so on and so forth. This is a team that has a lot of pieces that been in the finals themselves. So you almost hope it has the same effect of KD coming to Golden State as it did to him, in this situation. But all in all, I just look at Denver and say, Denver's been quietly in the shadows getting better every year. Quietly in the shadows, being a playoff team every year. Quietly in the shadows with these players who've all been unhealthy the whole time until right now. They ain't never had Porter, Murray, and Jokic healthy at the same time, least of all in the playoffs. So as I look at that and I say, yeah, I can believe in Phoenix and what they bring to the table, and I can look at KD and Booker and say, how the hell is anyone going to stop them? But the only problem with that is I just watched them struggle pretty much, 5 games, but struggle with a Clipper team that didn't have any of its real players. And you saw Kawhi Leonard, when he was down there, was able to pick them apart. Well, I'd imagine that Denver got plenty of pieces going to pick them apart. So that's going to be something that's going to be interesting to me. But I do like the Phoenix defenders in the paint. That's what's interesting as well. When I consider, again, Okogie, Biyombo, Ayton, Landau, those are guys that I think are going to have to tell the story in regards to winning the matchup against Jokic and whoever they're going to use at the center position, which is another thing I have. Are they going to use Thomas Bryant? Because when I look at their bench and I see him there, one of the biggest things that determine whether or not their bench is any good is whether or not they're using him and whether or not what level he's playing at. Because he's one of the most talented players on that bench. Also, Reggie Jackson is a big player in this series. Is he going to play? He was benched in the last series. I don't know what his health is, but if he's not available, that will affect what I think the Denver Nuggets are going to be able to do against Phoenix. I was not overly impressed with Denver in these last 2 games. In the closeout game, they struggled entirely too much with Minnesota, and of course the game before that they did lose to Minnesota. Minnesota gave them too much trouble with too little talent on the floor. And even though they have those 2 centers out there and Anthony Edwards who can attack you, I think Phoenix is going to come at them a lot harder than Minnesota did. And so with them struggling with Minnesota, that leaves me thinking they're going to struggle with Phoenix. Even though I think they may be a little more overall talented than Phoenix, I still don't know that what I saw from them isn't going to get them beat by a well-oiled Phoenix team. Even though Phoenix just slapped each other themselves together, they still play at a very high level with those 2 shot makers that can score on anybody at any time. I'm actually inclined to think that the Denver Nuggets do have a fuller team, and with home court advantage, I'm leaning toward thinking they're going to win the series. But this is a strange situation where I can totally see Phoenix just winning every quarter just because of the great shot making of KD and Booker. If they just continue to be able to stay on the floor comfortably and pick their spots, if Denver doesn't find a way to stop them or slow down their offensive attack, I can see a situation where they're just able to beat Denver just off of the strength of those guys closing every single damn possession with high efficiency. And so that's really what it comes down to. From possession to possession, I expect both of these teams to be rather efficient, but I do not think I know who's the better defensive team. And I think defense could tell the story based on the idea of both of these teams being highly efficient. Who can get a stop? Who can get a stop? And honestly, in my mind's eye, I just have a little more faith in Phoenix's defensive tandem, even though I have no respect for their bench. I think their bench provides me a bit more strength defensively. I look at Jokic and I just don't trust that center position to stop anything from driving in the paint. While I don't think they pose the greatest driving threat, I don't believe that Phoenix does. At the end of the day, we are talking about Booker, KD, you know what I mean? These guys are going to get opportunities to put pressure on the rim, and Jokic is going to have to stop them, or they're going to have to find somebody other than Gordon to be able to rim protect in this situation. You definitely going to see foul trouble come Jokic's way if those guys are coming at him. And so this is going to be interesting. Jokic is definitely going to get he's going to pick Phoenix apart like he picks everybody apart. But from possession to possession, I have questions about who's more likely to just close more possessions effectively. I think there's a good chance that Phoenix just closes possessions more effectively based on the fact that they're going to always have either KD, Booker, Chris Paul, or Ayton shooting the ball each and every time. But the thing about it is, Jokic is highly efficient. Porter's highly efficient. And when you consider the fact that Murray is a dog who can be efficient, but more so can be a threat from behind the arc, stringing together threes and just hitting clutch, impactful momentum shots, I just wonder what will actually play itself out. Denver having home court advantage, I don't know how much stock I should put in that other than the fact that that is altitude. Because at the end of the day, you're going against Devin Booker and KD. They're not going to be affected by no crowd and nothing like that. So I don't think it really matters where the gym is. But altitude is a big advantage. So I'm not walking away from this feeling too confident about this other than to say that I think health will tell the story. If for some reason we see some injuries, that'll lean this thing one way or another. And also, I really think defense is important. I think these teams have defensive players, but I don't think either of these are defensive teams. So I'm curious to see if we're going to see some high-scoring games or what have you. Neither one of these teams are riddled with any type of depth, is what I want people to understand. I don't expect that this bench is going to tell the story at all, but if I'm leaning toward either bench really doing anything, it has to do with who Denver chooses to play. Christian Braun is a very nice player. I like him. If they utilize him properly, I'm pretty sure they're going to get something out of him. Reggie must be used. Thomas, if you can get Thomas to the level that we had him at, per minute, he was giving us a lot of efficiently scoring the basketball from both the three and in the paint. I don't think they're using him at all. But from what I've seen as a Laker fan who had him in the first half of the season, we didn't use him properly either. And when we did play him high minutes, he was very helpful offensively. Defensively, not at all. But offensively, he could score a lot. And so I think that that's a very important piece going up against Biyombo, going up against those guys, Ayton. If nothing else, he can draw fouls, man. But I just don't think he's in rotation at all. And so, that value may not be realized. They may be concerned more so about his defense. And, of course, Jokic is on the floor at all times. So there's that. But that's just what it comes down to, man. I just don't know if I like Denver's bench that much more than I like Phoenix bench. In fact, I think I like Phoenix bench a little better, low key. As much as I've dogged Phoenix bench, they just do have a few other guys. Like Cam Payne, I like him a little bit. He can do some good things in this series if he's healthy. Damian Lee, I like Damian Lee. When it really comes down to it, Terrence Ross, I trust Terrence can hit some shots in this series. So I look at Phoenix and I say, as much as I've dogged your bench, it's in comparison to other teams who get benches. Denver don't have one. Denver bench is like, they looking at DeAndre Jordan. They got a youngster by the name of Watson. I don't know what he can do. Najee, what can he do? I don't know. So it's like they got young players that they haven't used that I'm not sure can play that are in that rotation. So if anything, it's going to negate what would otherwise give you a chance to really see a team knocking Phoenix off. You know what I'm saying? That you really are dealing with KD and Booker because that's all you're throwing at the other team is the same level of what it is you can bring to the table. Your top seven just the same. So I don't know, man. I really don't know. I'm inclined to think that Phoenix can actually win this series. And I think a lot of people will pick Phoenix because, that's not crazy. But I think when you consider how I've talked about Phoenix, it is kind of crazy, given how I think they're actually put together. But, I just don't think this is a bad path to be on now that they've gotten past the Clippers. I think Denver's probably a good matchup for them too. It's like they're headed to the Western Conference Finals in my mind. But it's probably going to take 7 games to do it, you guys. So I'm going to say Phoenix in 7. That's what I'm going to say. I think they're going to get a closeout road victory. Devin Booker, Kevin Durant. The only thing that I can say that gives me hesitation about what I'm doing here is I do think that Jokic could potentially pick them apart. And I do think that Porter and Murray could potentially negate the efficiency of Booker and KD depending on how well they shoot, coupled with what Jokic is going to be doing himself. You put all that together, it should negate what they're doing. And if that's the case, that's why I see this going 7 games. That's exactly why I see it going 7 games. Because Jokic really is that great. And KD really has been knocked out of the playoffs these last couple of years rather easily. I don't know that won't be the same right now, but I do think they have better defensive players overall in Phoenix than they did in Brooklyn. So that I take that into account a great deal. So Chris Paul is a wild card too. I think if he's really playing well, healthy, he's going to pick people apart with the jump shot. He's going to offset some of what Murray does. So with him being open for jump shots all day long, I think that really creates an impossible dynamic trying to guard KD and Booker. You can't have him just chilling. That's what makes them damn impossible. So I'm inclined to believe more of that's going to come. I mean, those guys stay healthy, they're just going to march through. And like I said, win the series. I think they'll win the series in 7. And I'm just going to stay with that. I can see it closing out earlier, too. I can see that. But I got to see how these games pan out, because that's going to tell me more of what it is I actually will know. Early on, without a feel-out game, it's hard to know what those matchups are going to really look like. But given the way Booker's been shooting and KD's been shooting, and given the way Denver looked against Minnesota, yeah, I'm sticking strong with Phoenix on this one, y'all. I'm going to say Phoenix goes to the Western Conference Finals with that terrible bench. Oh, my God, I can't believe I'm picking them to do that. But I am, because I just think that this is a matchup. If Ayton has a good series and Biyombo has a good series against Jokic and they're able to get some boards and just kind of control the paint in their own way, if they can do enough, I think that'll be enough. If they can do enough, that'll be enough. That's what I think. But what do I know, man? People don't even want to play centers these days. For all I know, it's going to be a small ball matchup. Ain't going to be no centers with Jokic on the floor. Who knows? But what I can tell you is that that's what I think gives Phoenix the best opportunity. They got to be able to score in the paint, and they got to be able to outboard the Denver Nuggets. And I don't think that's going to be the easiest task, to be honest with you. Josh Okogie and Aaron Gordon, I'm wondering how they're going to be matched up. That look at them. Josh Okogie's going to have to try to match some of what Aaron Gordon's doing defensively on the other side, because Aaron's going to be disruptive. And I think Aaron's going to probably contribute a lot more offensively than you expect Josh to. So that's also a contributor there. I just think you got more offensive weapons coming from the Denver side now that I consider it. But he's still dealing with circumstances down there that are impossible to defend, is what I'm saying. Phoenix, it's like pick your poison, they're going to hit the shot type of stuff. And while I think Denver has some of that going on, you're more than likely to see Denver allow other people who are not as efficient to shoot the ball and thus take away possessions from them. Phoenix ain't doing that. Phoenix is only going to go 4 places, and they're going to hit the shot. So it's that kind of thing. So with all of that being the case, I just think when it comes down to it from night to night, down the stretch of these games, KD and Booker will close it out when it matters the most. So that's what I'm saying, man. That's what it is. Phoenix in 7. I'm not married to that, but that's just where we're at before the series begins. So that's what I got. BDL44. I'll thank you all for watching. I'm out.